Today we're going to be going over some highly accurate clone fragrances that could almost pass for the original. So whether it's a discontinued scent or a really expensive fragrance or just something that's generally hard to find, oftentimes you have other options if you start exploring some clones. And you'll notice a lot of these clone brands have gotten smart and they've honed in on that, and they're kind of producing some alternatives to discontinued and super expensive stuff. And you'll find a lot of those are going to be featured here in this video. And so the first one is Fragrance World Jack of Clubs. This is Bleu Electrique, La Nuit de l'Homme, essentially in a nutshell. Very similar. You get that cardamom, lavender, some of the woods. Smells phenomenal. And if you're someone who has missed out on Bleu Electrique or you haven't wanted to pay the price tag that is often associated with it, you can get this one, which is usually around $40. And it's very close, very similar. And what's nice is that this brings back to life what La Nuit de l'Homme once was before it's been reformulated over the years. I've got some old bottles of La Nuit de l'Homme. First batch, 4-digit batch code, like when all the hype started, that version of La Nuit de l'Homme. I've got some. I also have new bottles as well. And there is a difference. Maybe not major, maybe not a deal breaker for some, but you can tell that the cardamom richness has been tamed down over the years just due to the restrictions that are being put on, brands and fragrance houses in general, and also probably out of a monetary standpoint as well. And La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique obviously is one that is just no longer around, at least readily available here in the US and Canada. And so if you want affordable alternative that you can buy pretty much at any time, check this one out. Next up, we have Barouge Perlador. This is going to be a clone of Parfums de Marly Carlisle, and this is great stuff as well. What I like about it is that it's a relatively unique scent while still maintaining some level of mass appeal a little bit, or at least a level of versatility. It kind of gets compared a little bit to things like Red Tobacco, and it's a lot more wearable and smooth and easygoing than Red Tobacco. If I had to choose one at the end of the day, I would take the PDM Carlisle DNA. Red Tobacco is a whole different animal that is just a lot more extreme. This one just has kind of more of a creaminess to it. The vanilla, tonka, patchouli, gaiac wood in here just kind of gives it a little bit of a softer approach, but it still is an absolute beast mode of a scent. And Carlisle itself, the real deal, is typically a bit more expensive than other Parfums de Marly's. And so, when Leighton is normally $180 to $200, Carlisle is usually up into the, roughly mid 200s, maybe 230, 240. So somewhere around in there, maybe even a bit more sometimes. So you can get this one for around $50 to $60. Save quite a bit of money that way. Next up, we have Armaf Club de Nuit Untold. I think we all remember the hype around this one. And this is kind of when they released a whole bunch of new Armafs all at once at the beginning of last year. So this one is their take on Baccarat Rouge 540 Eau de Parfum. They definitely are a little bit late to the party, so to speak. There's been a lot of other clones of that one at this point, and I'm still sure there's going to be more clones put out. But this one is a really good one. And it's also from Armaf, which is a highly respected clone brand, or at least as highly respected as a clone brand could be. And so generally, when they put something out, it's probably going to get pretty popular. And so because that DNA is something that so many people are trying to get, but it's very expensive, this one, which is around $50 to $60, gives you that opportunity at a fraction of the price. Next up, we have Harmony Code Absolute by Fragrance World. And if you could tell by the name and the gold bottle, Harmony Code Absolute. And that is so good to see because that's one of my favorite scents. Just for as far as designers go for wintertime, Harmony Code Absolute is a top tier winter scent. Unfortunately, as it usually goes, they went ahead and discontinued that one, along with Harmony Code Profumo, both right around the same time. So at this point, you can only buy, or at least they're only producing the EDT, the Eau de Parfum, and the Parfum. Don't know why, that sucks. You can get Harmony Code Absolute for around, again, $30, $40, typical going rate for a lot of these clones, and it smells very similar. It has the vanilla, tonka, suede, orange, just nice sweetness that you get from Code Absolute. So this is a great option if you don't have Code Absolute, or even if you have it, but you want to kind of conserve what you have. If you don't have a lot of backup bottles, go for something like this. You can wear this pretty much every day, burn through it, and not feel bad about wasting your real deal. Going from one discontinued scent to another, and this one really surprised me because it's been discontinued for a while, and I kind of thought that maybe the hype and the sought after nature of this one has diminished quite a bit. But then out of nowhere, this one popped up. Pretty bizarre. It is Pandora Scents Milano Privé. It's also technically a Paris Corner scent. This is just their Pandora Scents line. So kind of interesting, but 1 million Privé, believe it or not. I believe that one was discontinued around, what, 2018 maybe 2019. I think it was a couple years into my channel and collecting and stuff when it got discontinued, which was a really big shame to see. And then ever since then, you just didn't really have anything that smelled like it. No other alternatives until now. This came out like last year, so took a while, kind of random, but I'm glad that we have it. 1 million Privé is a phenomenal fall scent. I think that's what it's best suited for. You get kind of a cinnamon apple from this one, a little bit of that 1 million DNA in here as well, just very sweet. It smells so good. And the fact that you can now get your hands on this scent for around $30 to $40 to me is definitely something worth checking out. Another fragrance world, they're all over the place because, to be honest with you, they kind of figured out what people want. Proud of You Absolute. So, yeah, I think this one needs no explanation. Stronger With You Absolutely is one that's typically on the pricier side, and availability sometimes can be slim to none. I think it's in stock right now for around $104, $105 if you wanted the real one, or if you didn't want to spend that much, you can get this one for, again, typical going rate and below $50. And they did a great job here. They nailed the rum and the tonka and chestnut and all of that is associated with the real one. They got that going on here. The chestnut's very distinct. It gives a bit of a gourmand feel. The stuff smells great. Stronger With You Absolutely is my favorite of the line, and if you're on a budget, go for this one. We're going down to what is probably the most affordable clone in this video, and it really, to me, is still shocking that they're able to offer this for about $20. Lattafa Assad. This is what I believe to be, or at least it was, the first hyped up Sauvage Elixir clone. And I can't say for sure if this was the first one to market. Really have no way of knowing that. I haven't looked into it, but it's definitely the first one that caught on. So good on Lattafa for getting in there early. At this point, there are other clones and inspirations as well, but I still think this is also the most affordable one. Usually they're going to not be in the $20 range, typically a bit more. So this is a great purchase. Gets you so close. It has all of the warm spices. It has the sandalwood, has everything associated with Sauvage Elixir except for the price tag. Also, believe it or not, it even has really good performance. It's not as strong as Sauvage Elixir, but it's still an above average performer, especially for a mid $20 scent. Next up, we have Afnan Tarathi Brown. So we have a YSL Tuxedo clone here. Now you could go with a wide variety of Tuxedo clones because there's a lot of them out there. You've got, things like Mustache Eau de Parfum, Alhambra the Tux, Fragrance World Suits, and even more than that. It just depends on what you want. You can collect them all. You can only buy one. It doesn't matter. I have them all just because, that's kind of what I do here. But you really only need to have one. So just take your pick. For me, it's I'm going to present to you guys all of the options, and then you can decide from there. I've got no issues with Tarathi Brown. It is super close. It has great performance. It's a great price point. Presentation is cool. It's interesting, but something cool. It doesn't look like the Tuxedo presentation. There are other options if you want something like that, but still a great one to have around. Next up, we have Starman Nebula by Fragrance World. So this is a clone of the discontinued Mugler's, Pure Malt. I almost said the original Angel Men, but that's not discontinued. Pure Malt which is a great scent. It has malt, whiskey, tonka, sweet notes, nice little boozy scent with a slightly bright, fresh kick. Not as heavy as your typical, boozy scent. So you could kind of extend this one into springtime if you wanted to, whereas a lot of them typically going to be more fall and wintertime exclusive, but not this one. I love the DNA, and it's so sad that they discontinued that, along with Pure Havana and Ultra Zest and pretty much the whole entire line except for the original at this point. So, if you want pure malt at a considerable discount, $30 to $40, check this one out. One of my favorite scents from Dolce & Gabbana is the one Luminous Night, but it's an exclusive edition that is at this point impossible to find, and I haven't seen it in stock for the better part of probably 6 months at this point. There was a point where it was popping up relatively consistently at discounters. I was sending out emails on it every time it would come up, which was relatively often, and typically it was priced anywhere from $80 on the low end to around $100 on the upper end of things there. And then after a, consistent run of popping up here and there, just dead silence. And like I said, probably close to 6 months now that I haven't seen it in stock once, at least on any of the major discounters. So, I don't know if they're done forever with it already or if it's just major supply chain issues. I don't know. But it's not the end of the world because you can buy Fragrance World Moonlit Night, which gets you very close. They go straight for the throat. They're cloning presentation and scent as well, which is pretty cool because one of the main drawbacks to a lot of these clones that I think a lot of people can't get past, whether they want to admit it or not, is the presentation. Lattafa Assad, it's a clone, tacky looking bottle. Your mileage may vary. Some may think more so than others, but that's not really, an aesthetically pleasing bottle compared to what you probably have in your collection as far as all of your other designers, okay? But they're doing a good job of maintaining that aesthetic, so that way you're more likely to buy it because you don't have to deal with that, subjectively ugly presentation. Yeah, Luminous Night, it's a great one, it's unique, and here's an option for you that's a lot more affordable. And this next one, is, essentially it's a clone of Acqua di Gio Parfum, and it's Lattafa Secret Eau de Parfum. They released this when Profumo was out and the Parfum wasn't. But now that the Parfum is out, this is essentially a clone of the Parfum. So, that one is usually $120 or so for 125 ml. This is typical $40. So, nice savings if you don't want to spend that much. And I do recommend having this DNA in your collection regardless. It's really good. Whether it's from this or the real deal or not, it's worth having. Next up, we have Reinheit Parfum, and I'm sure you could probably tell what this one is a clone of, Fahrenheit Les Parfums, which is currently their best in production flanker because it's, I don't even know if it's in production, but it's one you can still buy. It's one of the best. They've discontinued Absolute, they've discontinued the Cologne, they've discontinued the Aqua, so really all that's left that you're able to purchase, I guess, is the original and Fahrenheit Les Parfums. And even when it's in stock, it's 75 ml Parfum concentration for usually up over $100. It's on the pricier end. This one eliminates that issue. You got to have Layton in your collection, so you could go for Detour Noir, push in $30, $35, and you're going to have Layton. I love it. It's one of the best clones out there, one of the most affordable, great quality, great performance, and I wear this one when I don't want to waste my bottle of Layton, for just random events where I don't need to be wearing it, but I want to smell like it, or if I'm going to take a shower in a couple hours or something and I just feel like smelling like Layton, I can just use a clone. That's what I love about these cheap clones is you can just use them and not worry about them. So that's a really nice selling point. The second to last one is Paris Corner Cherry Cola. It's a clone of one of my favorite new Manceras, which is Tonka Cola, of course. And to be fair, that one's not expensive. I think that's probably one of the cheapest fragrances in this video, Tonka Cola. $94 right now, sometimes a little bit more, but that's what it's in stock for right now on discounters. A lot of these, again, are discontinued or well into the 100s and 200s and beyond. So, a lot of people might say, just buy the Mancera. It's $90. This is $35 or $40. And, you can't speak for everybody's financial situation. So here's an option for you, $35 to $40. you could essentially buy 2 of these for the price of that 1 Mancera, close, roughly. So it's just something to think about. Last up, we have FOMO Gary's Den. So parfum concentration, cloning, Dior Fahrenheit parfum, Dior Homme parfum, which I love. One of my favorites. It's rose heavy with leather, a little bit of oud, and a ton of iris. It's a work of art, but it's expensive. It's pretty daring as well. It's not the safest blind buy, but this one does make it more obtainable, coming in at around $40. That's going to do it for me, guys. Some fantastic clones that are super accurate. I'll link them all down below. That way you can buy them at the prices I've been talking about. I've got a mailing list you can sign up to as well if you hit the link down below. Anytime something rare comes into stock, like Blue Electrique, Armani Code Absolute, it does happen often. I send out an email, so make sure you're on there so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.